episode 207, IRONMAN Cozumel with professional triathlete Kelsey Withrow. Welcome to the pursuit of the perfect race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Kelsey Withrow, where she placed 5th at IRONMAN Cozumel in 2018. The temperature on race day was 71 and rose to 84, with the water temperature being 81 degrees. She's been a professional triathlete for 17 years and had an amazing time of 9 hours, 48 minutes, and 10 seconds. She's ready to share her story about her race at Cozumel today. Welcome to the show, Kelsey.
Thank you for having me, Terry.
Hey, you're welcome. So what made you want to do this race?
Basically, it fell right at a time where it was right after Kona, and it worked perfectly for me. And the start list wasn't extremely stacked, so I decided to do that one.
Extremely stacked?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Wow. So going into this race, how was your training? I know you had a little bit of an injury going into this race.
Oh, my God. Oh, geez. Can you edit this? Eddie, off. Eddie, off. Hold on. Sorry.
No worries.
Oh, my God.
What kind of dog is he?
She's a
she.
pit bull. She's a pit bull English pointer.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Addie, no. Okay, let's start over on that.
So going into this race, how was your training? I know you had a little bit of an injury going into this race.
Yeah, so I developed a little bit of a hip injury. It was diagnosed as a labrum tear, but we didn't get an MRI, so we don't know if that's really it or not. But I was training through it for a while, and then about a month before IRONMAN Cozumel, that was my sign to not run on it. So I was doing a lot of water running and Ultra G running. Wow.
And you're still doing the Ultra G running?
I still am doing it. I'm still rehabbing my hip. It's about 90% better than what it was. So the Ironman actually didn't hurt me more.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So I know you've been in the sport for roughly 17 years as a pro athlete, and you've done countless 70.3s and fulls. Going into this race, how was your confidence?
Well, I've actually only done one other full.
Really?
I've done a lot. Yeah. So this was my second one ever. And I did the first one in Australia a few months before that.
Oh, wow.
So I'm pretty new to the long course racing. I've done a ton of 70.3s and then grew up doing the ITU racing. Wow.
And you won a 70.3 in China this year.
Yep, this year I won Ironman 70.3 Shujing.
Wow.
So, and I was second there last year. So it's good to bring home a win.
Nice. So I know you're being coached by your boyfriend, Mike Campbell, with Core Motion Athletics.
Yeah.
How was your training going into this race from the swim, bike, and run aspect?
Basically, I had about an 8-week Ironman training block. I was doing a lot of intensity before that because I was gearing up for an Olympic distance race, actually in China. So I just kind of shifted my focus for 8 weeks with a lot longer rides. And I took away a lot of that intensity. So I was just doing a lot of volume.
Okay. So with your training going into Cozumel, what was your longest swim, bike, and run workouts?
My longest swim was about 90 minutes. I really don't swim that much, probably compared to a lot of pro triathletes, mainly because I've been swimming my whole life. And, I usually come out first or in the first pack swimming with 3 or 4 times a week. So it's not really my top priority. Like, I need to be working on the bike and the run. So I swim about 3 or 4 times a week at an hour at a time.
Wow, is that a lot of intensity, drills? What is that?
I swim with the Masters team, Walnut Creek Master Swimming, and there's intensity in each workout, so it's pretty good. And usually one day a week there's a distance day where they do 10 400s hard, which is my favorite workout.
Really?
Yeah.
10 by 400s hard.
Yeah.
So what's your time for that? 8-9 minutes
for a 400?
Yeah.
No. 4:30.
Okay, I was thinking of 800 for some reason. I was yeah. Sometimes
on a good day around 4:30. Some days it gets really ugly.
Wow. So what about the bike and the run? What was your longest bike runs?
So I do most of my training indoors. So most of the bike training, and my longest one in that 8-week period was around 6 hours.
Wow.
I did
on
a
the trainer.
little, yeah, on Zwift. I had one of my other clients who was gearing up for Ironman Arizona. We did the 112-mile ride on the day of Kona. So we warmed up, and then, yeah, it's a long time indoors. And since I was getting ready for Cozumel, so any hot race I do, I create this hot box, I call it. And I put my treadmill and my bike trainer in some tarp, and I put the heat and humidifier on. And so it mimics the temperature and humidity of the race. So we did it in there too.
Wow.
So it was rough.
So you did a 6-hour trainer ride. So are you using a smart trainer for that, where you're doing a workout?
Say that again?
So you're doing a smart trainer workout, it sounds like?
Yeah. So I just ride. Are you familiar with Zwift?
I am.
Yeah. So we just pick a course on there and then ride.
Wow.
So it's hilly. You can do hills, flat. We did a little bit of everything.
Man, so what about your run?
Huh?
What about your run? I know that you were injured.
So the run, I was doing up to 2-hour runs on the trails, which is really good for me because if anyone knows my past, I've been injured a lot. And so for me to be running 2 hours is pretty good, but yeah, I had to cut that down when I hurt my hip.
Wow. So that means you weren't doing a lot of bricks in your training?
I used to do a lot of bricks. I would do 2 to 3 bricks a week. I just found that I was getting hurt less running off the bike. And it mimicked racing. All my runs would be hard off the bike. So when I would get to a race, there would be no surprise. I was very familiar with that kind of pain.
Right. So what about strength training? Were you doing any strength training?
A little bit of core stuff. But I do heavy lifting in the off season. And then I kind of forgot, I stopped doing it, when I was racing, and that's when I shouldn't do.
What do you mean?
Well, it feels like every time I stop my core or my weights, I get injured. And it's happened 3 years in a row. So I should pay attention to that.
So is that what you're going to incorporate throughout your season next year?
Yes, I'm going to be at least with my core.
Okay. So when you say core, you have specific workouts that you do during the week for that?
Yeah. So, now since I've been doing PT, it's a lot of hip and core work. And so that I'm going to take that routine and keep doing it.
Okay. So I know for your nutrition, you're actually making your own maltodextrin mix and using some over-the-counter products, basically like honey stinger and goo. Is that what you like to use? I mean, you've...
Yeah, I've been using honey stinger this year on the bike and with some gels, just regular goo. And then right now we're creating our own drink mix to make sure we've kind of through trial and error, we've figured out what I need in terms of the different types of sugars. So I haven't tried that out in a race yet, but I'm going to try it out training obviously first, but yeah, so I'm excited to try that out.
Wow. So you've actually been around for, you've been around for 17 years at least in the sport. What all nutrition products have you used along the way?
I've used everything. But the thing is so when I was doing like this short course racing, I would maybe have a gel, like for an Olympic distance race. Like I would not really eat much or drink much. So like moving over to the longer distance at first, I mean, I was like bonking every race because I just wasn't used to eating. And then, they say that's like the fourth discipline, and that is so true. But I've used every product under the book.
Wow. So what about a day-to-day nutrition aspect? Are you eating a certain breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the training blocks because you want to make sure that you're not bringing too much weight to the races as well, right?
Yeah. I pretty much eat healthy. I try not to do a lot of processed sugars. I've made the mistake of like carbo loading the day before the race, which has ended badly. Happened to me at Eagle Man, where I just totally swollen and just, it was bad. But I'll do usually like a fattier dinner before the race, and then a lighter breakfast. Okay.
So what does that look like for you?
Well, I was doing oatmeal and peanut butter in the morning. And then we've done for the evening before the race, I'll do like a breakfast burrito.
Really?
A greasy breakfast burrito. They're delicious.
So you have like eggs, cheese, and bacon in there?
Yeah, and bacon.
Gotta love bacon.
Me too. It's so good. My body just really craves fat for some reason. And the cleaner my diet is, like right before the race, I don't race that well. Wow. So like my body like loves the fat, loves the bacon.
So you like guacamole and avocados then?
I do. I don't eat actually a lot of avocado, but I mean, it's good.
Yeah. So what workouts did you do in training that gave you the confidence to go into Cozumel prepared?
I was fine with my swim because my swim, I literally hold the same pace for like a hard 100 to like a 10K swim. Like my pace doesn't change. So like, and that's with like an hour swimming. So I knew my swim would be okay. The longer bike rides were the ones that like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be okay. Cause I would do long rides and at the end I would do intensity. So I was totally fine, or thinking I was fine for the bike. And then I was actually worried about the run since I hadn't been doing much mileage.
Okay. So whenever you actually think of your training, what was the most hours you trained in 1 week?
I probably got up to like 23 to 25 hours.
Wow.
So, and I really think that's not a lot for a lot of Ironman athletes.
Right. But this doesn't incorporate the time that you spend stretching, rolling out, napping, massages, to and from workouts and all that.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count.
Yeah. Or preparing the water bottles and your nutrition.
Yeah, that's not training. Yeah. I mean, it's part of our job, but it's not actual training.
Right. So knowing that you're training that much, were there any days where you just mentally didn't want to train?
Yeah, I have days like that. A lot, because we're tired and, waking up, it's just really hard to, and, my coach has gotten mad at me. It's sometimes where I don't think I can do the workout in the morning where I just feel awful. And then he yells at me and tells me to get on the bike anyways. And then I actually end up feeling okay. And maybe, sometimes you surprise yourself and have good workouts, but yeah, there are a lot of days where I don't want to do it.
So without your boyfriend getting mad at you or a coach getting mad at you at that point, how do you get past those?
Well, I just know that, I have my goals and I think about what my competitors are doing, and you're not going to get any better by not stressing yourself. So I just know that the work is going to get done no matter what.
Right.
It's just what it is.
So when you're not training or racing, I mean, you're training 23, 25 hours a week at the top end. What else are you doing? What else do you have on your plate?
So every Wednesday morning, I teach a spin class at 5:45, and I actually teach that spin class off the bike. So I stand around and walk around, which is kind of unique, I think. They try harder when I'm not on the bike. I like to go to coffee shops. and just kind of rest and have coffee with friends. But other than that, I spend most of my time like recovering.
Yeah. So do you have a pair of boots that you use as well?
Yeah, I use the Normatec Recovery boots.
Nice.
And I have the hip piece and the leg piece.
I have not got the hip piece yet, but
It's
I tried
good.
it at an expo, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get this. And
It's good, especially for me right now with my hip injury. Like, it hits the right spots.
man, like my wife wants me to get the hip piece because she like wants it because she knows what it does. And I'm like, yeah, just go ahead. Just get that real quick.
Be like, you buy that one.
Yeah, because I bought the system, and
it's expensive, but
Yes.
it's worth it. It's an investment.
yes.
You know, that's how you got to look at it.
So you have all this going on in your life. How big of an issue is balancing life, work, and training for you?
It's not, it's pretty much all I've ever known. Like I grew up swimming, and so swimming, you have to be serious, totally serious, moved on to triathlon, and literally I did 1 year college swimming, and then I moved to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. And so I lived there for like 6 years.
Wow.
And so that's all I've kind of ever known is just, do your sport, recover. So
That's pretty awesome.
not hard for me.
So it seems like time management just comes second nature to you.
I'm a bit of a procrastinator, so I'm not a morning person, and I like to like have my cup of coffee, have my time, and then when I'm ready, I like to do the workouts. But my coach wants me to not be so lazy in the mornings. But I mean, I'll always get the workouts done. It's just I have a problem with like cramming them all together, and we're trying to get away from that. But it's hard. It's hard.
So the struggle is real.
The struggle is real in the mornings. I spent so many years waking up super early for swimming that I'm like scarred for life.
Man. I mean, at least you actually have a solid swim base, and you're not sitting here struggling with the swim, because so many pros struggle with the swim aspect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the good news is you're probably not going to lose the race. Well, I guess you could lose the race at the swim if you're that bad, but the race isn't really decided from the swim. The swim is in relative to the bike and the run. It's so short. I wish it was longer. Really?
How long do you think the swim should be?
Well, I think it should be about 2.4 miles for the half. 25% of the race.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah, me too. I think it would be more fair.
It would be more of a dynamic.
Yeah. It would hurt the non-swimmers.
I mean, because I know you're going to hear my episode with Triathlon Taryn, at least. I'm sure you know who that is.
He's a funny guy. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
And we talk about Kona, and we rant about the actual course, and my suggestions with that are going to upset some people for sure, because I'm like, well, it's a world championship. Make it longer in all aspects. Make it a 4-mile swim, a 150-mile bike ride.
But they'll never do it.
Oh,
that's
I know.
That's when Ultraman comes into play.
Yeah. And then the location of the race and all that. We talk about all that fun stuff.
Yeah. I just think that it should be, to make it a little bit more fair, swim should be a little bit longer. And unfortunately, I've done a few races where the swim gets canceled in races.
There was two this year that got canceled. Chattanooga got canceled, and they moved Florida, and Louisville was shortened.
It's Santa Rosa that canceled the swim too.
Yeah, Santa Rosa 70.3 they canceled the swim.
Yep, that sucked.
Were you there?
Yep, I was there.
Oh wow, man! So with all of this fun stuff going into the race this year, what sacrifices did you make?
None. I don't really think of anything as sacrifices when it's something I want to do, and it's my job. So there's no sacrifices.
Wow. So to kind of transition a little bit here, what did your taper look like going into this race?
Just probably a week out, I stopped doing the volume. But I always keep, and this goes for like 70.3s too, is I always keep some intensity in each of the workouts just to keep those muscles firing. And then I'm not flat for the race. But with the long distance stuff, I'm still learning at what is best for my body. So we just tried a week out, and I think I was completely rested for Cozumel. I mean, I felt really good for half of it.
Wow. So with this race, I mean, it seems like the intensity is important and the volume's important as well, but the taper is not as long as most age groupers think it should be.
Really? What do they think it should be?
Most people think it should be a 3-week taper.
Jeez. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know how often or long they're training, but that seems like a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I would lose fitness. I mean, my run sure lost fitness after those weeks of not running much.
Right. And that just shows how quick the atrophy sets in because you lose it so quick.
Yeah. It's hard to gain, but you can lose it really fast.
Right. So to transition a bit more for this race, when did you actually want to start traveling from California down to Cozumel?
I decided I was going to do this race literally like 2-3 weeks before. And that's pretty much how I do every race. I kind of look and to see, I need to be smart at which races I choose because I do this as a living and I need to go where I have the best shot of making money.
That makes sense. So
you could call me a cherry picker or what, but I'm just being smart.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go to a race that's completely stacked.
Yeah,
and then
sorry to keep interrupting you.
Oh, you're good.
So it seems like at the very beginning of the year, a lot of athletes, even pros, will pick out like their race season races, but you don't do that. You just say, "Well, who's racing there?" And then alter your plans and go. Oh, you do?
I have a little bit of an approach, but I mean, I will usually choose a couple races and then kind of depending on who's there, then I'll go. And then I saw the start list for Cozumel and I was going to either choose Arizona or Cozumel. And there's a lot more people on the Arizona list, but you know, the depth of Cozumel, they had really good girls. So there weren't very many. I think there was only 10, but they were all good. So it was it could be anyone's race.
Right. I mean, and thankfully you didn't do Arizona because that was a 61-degree swim.
Yeah, that was cold, but I don't mind really. I do fine in cold races.
Really?
Any water, any body of water here in the Bay Area is freezing. It's 60 degrees. So that's just something that you have to deal with here in California.
Oh, that's too cold for me.
It's a little chilly. I mean,
a little chilly. That's cold.
Yeah. That's brain freeze.
A little chilly to me would be 70, 68.
That's because you're
chilly. Yes. Man. So when did you actually start going to Cozumel?
The day before the race, or before the race?
Yeah.
I went Tuesday, and the race was Sunday.
Right.
And so I just wanted a little bit more time to acclimate to the weather there. So yeah, that's why I went early.
Okay.
And the girl I was staying with, she came early too. So I was not alone. Yeah.
Who'd you stay with?
Laurel Wasner.
Oh, wow. I don't know her.
She's a twin.
Really?
And yep, her and her sister race around. And so it's pretty cool. Known them forever. And I've pretty much traveled to every race this year with Laurel.
Wow. So y'all raced it together then?
Yep, we raced together. And she's done a ton of Ironman. So she's given me tips.
Nice.
Yep.
So as far as the check-in process in Ironman Village, what was your impression of it here at Cozumel?
It's amazing. The Cozumel is a great location. I love the bike course, and even going there early and training for the bike course because there's an area there next to the road. There's a spot for where you can ride your bike where no cars are allowed. So it's super safe. I would hold training camps there if I could.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the race is really, I've been to Cozumel one other time last year for the 70.3. So I kind of knew my way around, but it's super easy to get around there with taxis and whatnot. The race, I mean, everything was in one area, so it made it easy. And yeah, it's a good race.
Cool. So as far as the packet pickup, check-in and all that, how'd that process go for you?
Very smooth. I mean, it's not my first rodeo. It's kind of all the same. You go, sign your name, pick up your packet, and then we usually have our race meeting right afterwards.
Okay. So with Cozumel, they actually make you check your bike the day before here.
Yep.
Was that an issue for you?
No, it was fine. I'm glad I've done that a couple races where it's like downpoured. I think I was in Brazil and that happened, and it's just like, oh, everything, like the lube on my chain, but thankfully it did not rain that night and my bike was safe. I always worry about that too, like if like someone's going to steal bikes. Right. Yeah.
And I mean, you've even been here for a long time and you still have that fear.
Yeah. People are mean. There's some bad people out there. You just never know.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Have you had that happen? Have you seen that happen?
No, I was told before the race to like he was staying next to the bikes because he knows he had an experience of where she got her bike messed with like the morning of, like took out the electronic cable. So you just never know.
Wow.
Yeah. People will do anything to win. True.
There was one age grouper that got banned because she messed with another girl's bike. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I read about that. That's crazy. That's crazy. And the husband saw it.
What?
That's like, well, the husband witnessed it happen. So that's how she got caught.
Wow.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So who all went down to Cozumel with you?
I went alone.
Really?
Yeah. My coach, he was planning on coming, but it's just too hard with our dogs, leaving the dogs behind. And then he has his own business of like strength. He does strength and conditioning and ART, and like that's how he makes his money. So for him to leave is a lot of money lost on his part.
Right. So as far as the day before the race, how was your planning going into this race? Because with this race, you're not allowed to access your bags the morning of the race.
Yeah.
And it's a dual transition race as well.
Yeah. So I did it 2 days before the race just to make sure. And I made a list of like what needs to go in what bag. Because everybody worries like they're going to forget something and you have dreams. I've had dreams where I've had experiences where I've accidentally left my sunglasses out. And like, but I made sure to do everything a couple days before.
Wow. So what are you putting in each bag?
Well, this year, so I'm just kind of still learning like with the special needs bags and like what goes in what. I didn't do my bike special needs because I don't want to stop. And I'm finding that most pros don't do that. But my run special needs, I put a bag of gels. And that's it.
Okay.
And extra socks, just in case.
Extra socks on the bike or run special needs?
On the run special needs, yeah. Just in case, like, mine are soaked and I was getting blisters. So I wanted to put another pair of shoes just in case, but we won't see those bags again. So I didn't want to lose a pair.
Right. So what about the actual bike and the run bags?
The bike, all I had was my helmet.
Okay.
Because
no sunglasses?
Nope. So my helmet has a visor on it. So the sunglasses went in my run bag.
Okay.
Yep.
And the run bag had just your run shoes?
Run shoes. I put on compression socks. I didn't wear any socks on the bike. So I put on the compression socks. And I had my race belt and some more nutrition. Okay.
So the day before the race, after you check everything in, what are you doing from a nutrition aspect? Being that you're in Cozumel, are you worrying about the fruits, the vegetables? Are you worrying about the water quality? What is all this?
Yeah. So basically bottled water. I pretty much do bottled water wherever I go. and I stayed away from fiber a couple days out. I didn't eat any of the vegetables or fruit really the day before the race. I'm trying to remember what I ate. I probably had pasta. I did a lot of pasta there. And then we stayed at an Airbnb so we could cook our own stuff. But there was this natural foods restaurant that we ended up going to a lot that had like fresh food, and they had deals for the Ironman athletes. And so that place was pretty popular. I made sure not to overeat this time because I've overeaten in the past the day before, and that just does not go well for me.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So how far away from the race venue were y'all staying?
So the race venue is actually a little bit of a drive. I mean, like 20 minutes, 15 minutes through a taxi, where most of the hotels and everyone's staying. It's kind of out on the other side of the island, but it's easy to get to.
So did y'all worry about getting to the race venue in time, race morning?
We were just a little nervous because we had to get a taxi. But thankfully someone was driving by in a taxi that was going to the race, and so she just let us ride with her.
Oh, wow. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, because we were going to walk to the race hotel and then get a bus, but that would just take forever.
Right. So the day before the race, what time were you wanting to get in bed?
I probably got in bed around 9, but probably didn't fall asleep till 11.
Oh, wow. Nervous?
My days of getting super, super nervous are getting better. Like I used to not be able to sleep the night before at all because my mind would just be going crazy. But I'm a little bit more relaxed now since I've been doing this for a really long time.
Wow. I hope it doesn't take me 17 years to get to the point where I can sleep a little bit, but I still get so.
I'm old.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a while to get there. So you get up on race morning. What were you actually doing on race morning before you left y'all's Airbnb?
So I got up, and first things first, I had to have my coffee. That's like every morning for me. So I had some Nescafe coffee, which is not the best tasting, but that's what's there. And then I had oatmeal and some peanut butter.
Okay.
And then we left. So we weren't at the Airbnb for very long.
Okay. So whenever you get up on race day, are you putting I know you're obviously putting your kit on, but are you putting any type of chamois cream on or anything like that?
No chamois cream, but I do put on Vaseline, but before the swim starts. So when I'm actually at the start.
Okay. So whenever you get down to transition, I know after you get done with transition, you have to get on another bus to head down to the swim start.
Yeah.
But whenever you're at transition, what are you doing in transition to prepare your bike for the bike ride and all this fun stuff?
Basically, I make sure first of all that my bike is working. I make sure I charge my batteries again the night before, so I bring the batteries. I rubber band my shoes on, and then I make sure to have my beet juice, and then I'm good to go.
Beet juice?
Yeah.
What are you taking the beet juice for?
What? Hold on, I'll ask real quick. Mike, why do I take beet juice? Nitric oxide.
Wow. Like, I just know it tastes really bad. That's all I know about that.
I do not like the taste of beet juice. It repulses me and it makes me want to throw up, but my coach makes me do it.
And it makes your pee red.
It does. I think I'm bleeding, and then it's actually just from the beet juice.
Man. So
TMI.
Yes, I've heard it all in here. We are all very shameless triathletes.
We're athletes.
That talk
we
about
that out
all this stuff.
No.
Everybody pees on their bike. It just happens.
You know what? I can't pee on the bike.
Really?
I don't do it. Yep, I don't know how.
Well,
but I did pee
pedaling.
on the run. I peed on the run while I was running.
That takes too much coordination for me.
That was a first, and I couldn't help it. It just happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after you leave transition to head down to the swim start, you get down there. What is your mindset at this point for this race? Did you want to do your very best? Did you want to kind of baby your injury?
No, I wanted to win. I thought that, well, I still think, like, I have the potential to win that race. So my plan was to, come out of the water first, but then work with Shelby on the bike, because we raced in China earlier in the year, and we ended up on the bike together working pretty good. So we were the swimmers of the race, and we both have pretty strong bikes. So we're like, let's try and put some time into everyone. And she did that, I think, 2 years before with another Danish girl, and that got her the win. So
wow.
Yeah.
And she's also pregnant.
She's pregnant. She raced pregnant.
her second race pregnant at that.
Yeah, I guess she raced Kona pregnant too.
Yeah.
She's crazy.
Jeez.
But yeah, she actually just had some bad luck with two punctures, I think, in the race. So that ended her day.
Man, that sucks.
It does when you travel all that way and then stuff happens out of your control.
Yeah. That's
what sucks.
So are y'all sitting here talking about the race beforehand, or are y'all just like all quiet?
We kind of we just kind of messaged back and forth a little bit. But yeah, then we didn't really talk that much before the race. But yeah, everyone kind of keeps to themselves a little bit.
Wow. So
I think that's nerves.
So the atmosphere at the race start is like very tense.
That's a little nerve wracking. The worst part for me is like right before they start the gun for the swim, and then maybe like the first 3 minutes of the swim.
Oh wow!
And then the nervousness goes away for the most part.
Wow! So after the men pros head on out for their swim, y'all are just waiting around for a little bit before y'all get in the water. Well,
yeah. So they let us. We didn't. They said we were going to get a warm up, but we didn't. But the men went, and then we got to go 5 minutes after them. So as soon as they went, we jumped in, and then I actually got stung by a jellyfish in the neck right before the start.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, ow. And a lot of people were getting stung pre-race because there was a big storm that happened all week, and it was bringing everything close to shore. So people were getting stung a lot.
Wow. So what does it actually feel like to get stung by a jellyfish?
It's just annoying. It just hurts, like a little sting, and then it got really hot, and then I didn't notice it. But I have a reaction to jellyfish larvae. And that's what I was really worried about pre-race, because that happened to me in Manta, Ecuador, where I was just getting stung by the jellyfish larva the whole time, and I had a really bad reaction to it. And that's happened twice with the larva. And so I was super nervous going into this race because I knew there was it in the ocean. I literally only got stung like once on the face from that stuff. I swam through a little bit, and then I was fine.
Wow. So after the gun goes off for the female pros, y'all head out. You had an amazing time of 48 minutes and 41 seconds here, which is just phenomenal, I think. But how did the swim go for you in your mind?
So they told us, Cozumel, like a lot of years, like sometimes the swim is really, really fast. Like some people are doing like 41 minutes, or other years where they swim 53 minutes or an hour. It just kind of depends on the current. So they told us before the race it was going to be a fast swim, like because the current was going to be with us. But that actually was not the case, maybe for like the first couple minutes, but then it changed where literally it was a really tough swim. I felt like I was getting dragged back from the current. And so, yeah, and I wasn't the only one that said that. So it was actually a pretty rough swim. And it felt like it took forever. But I mean, my goal is just to get a few minutes on people. So I think I did the swim perfectly for me.
Yeah, you're the first out of the water.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good, well-executed swim.
So did you sight from buoy to buoy? Because from what I heard with other athletes is they felt like they were getting almost pushed to the shore.
Yes. So it's like you kind of had to fight more to the right. Like I wasn't even close. I was trying to get closer to the buoys, but I just couldn't get over that way because of the waves. But I just I swim pretty straight anyway. So I just made sure to keep a certain distance from the buoys to make sure I was, swimming straight.
Right. So are you a bilateral swimmer?
I am, but I tend to breathe more to my right-hand side. And I mean, I'll breathe to my left for sighting and for a little bit of comfort, but I mainly breathe to my right.
Okay. So for the swim, are you putting your goggles underneath your cap?
No, I always do over.
Over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Always.
Are you doing swim skin? Obviously, what kind of swim skin are you using here?
I use the Roca Viper.
Okay. Do you like that one?
Yeah. So I just actually got the new one. They just sent me the new. I was using a previous year's model, and the new one is awesome. I mean, fast, really, really fast, and it almost felt like I was wearing like a wetsuit in terms of buoyancy.
Really?
Yeah. So for people who have body position problems in the water, I would recommend that.
So
for non-wetsuit swims.
But is it constricting?
No, not at all. Because I don't use the one with the arms. So it's just, and this was actually the first time I chose to use my regular race suit. They made a special one with sleeves, like a new one for. So basically, I was using a race suit, and I couldn't swim with the sleeves on, with a wetsuit or without, and they made me a new one. So it's their new prototype, and I was able to swim with the sleeves on.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was huge for me because most swimmers don't like stuff on their shoulders and restriction, and I didn't have any. Because,
just for people that don't understand it, when you have anything on your shoulders, that just...
It's uncomfortable.
Yes.
And it feels like it restricts me. And I don't even like wearing my wetsuit normally just because something is on my shoulders.
Right. It's like you have a rubber band to fight against.
Yep. It's like I don't want to fight my clothing.
Right. So for the swim, it's obviously salt water here. And you had a pretty good time in transition of 3:23. I think that's freaking amazing.
Yeah, well, it was a long run from the swim exit to transition. It was quite a long run. So it was a long, that probably took the longest. And literally all I had to do was take my bag, put on my helmet, and go.
Wow. So whenever you get out of the swim, you take your wetsuit off, or not wetsuit, your swim skin off. And do you have to put that in the bag here, or do volunteers do that?
I'm trying to remember. I think I gave it to them. Yeah, so I gave it to them, and they put it in my bag.
Okay. So did they have water for you to drink there to get the nasty saltwater taste out of your mouth?
To tell you the truth, I don't even remember.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure they did, but I didn't grab it.
Okay. So whenever you get out on the bike ride, you head out. How does the first few miles go?
So I made sure this time I grabbed a waffle like right at the start of the bike. So I was like chewing like the first mile. And those are always kind of the hardest miles because your body is still like in shock from coming out of the water, and my heart rate always gets high, especially since there was such a long run. But my legs felt really good, which is unusual for me. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a good day.
Wow. So from a strategy point of view, you were the first one out of the water, first one on the bike course. How was your strategy for the bike course? Did you want to push it from the beginning? Did you want to hit a certain power number, heart rate number, cadence number? What does this look like?
Yeah, well, so I was planning on having Michelle come out. I was planning on having more people close by. I just figured she would swim really close with me, but since I had that gap, I had a certain wattage that I was planning on doing. And so I just tried to hold that. And so no one came on the bike halfway through. And so I was like, geez, I'm just going to have to go. I think it's hard to race at the front.
Right.
You know, I personally like to chase rather than to be the one hunted, but it's kind of fun because then the cameras are on you and, you know, you get a lot of attention.
Right. I mean, I interviewed Ellie Salthouse. I'm sure you know who that is, about her win at Boulder this year. And it was an amazing experience for her because she led the race. And like that's her domain and she likes it. But now hearing from you, it's like, well, I don't really like it. I'd rather go hunt versus be the hunted. And it's pretty interesting to see the dynamics.
It's probably just from past experiences where, you know, my swim is great. My bike was okay, but my run sucked because I was always injured. And so I'd always be getting passed. That's probably where it stemmed from.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So as far as the aid stations on the bike course here, I know they have ice water for the athletes. How was all this for you? Did you have what you needed on the bike course?
It was good because this course I think they had aid stations like every 10 miles.
Wow, that's a lot of aid stations. Yeah,
it was awesome. And like since it was really hot and humid, like super good to have those stations. So I just made sure to take a bottled water at every station.
Right. So the wind here is brutal in some years, not so bad in other years, but it's going to play a toll on you mentally. How do you prepare to ride in the wind like this?
Well, so part of my block, I actually got to go outside and there's this frontage road, that's like kind of close to my house. And so I would go out there and practice like riding in the wind. And so I was used to being thrown around in the wind, but my wheels are really good. So it wasn't that big of a deal.
What kind of wheels do you have?
I have the NV 7.8.
Wow. So those are kind of deep, aren't they?
Yeah, but I was okay with them. I mean, it was hard, but I was able to ride in a straight line and not get tossed around.
So I'm not trying to like throw your weight on the bus, but you're not that heavy. You're 117 pounds and you can handle the deep wheels. I feel like there's a lot of females out there that feel like, well, I don't weigh enough for these wheels.
I don't really think that. I think a lot of it's also bike handling skills. Well, yeah, I mean, you got to be able to control your bike. But you know, there's always those gusts that are a little scary. But yeah, I mean, I've been in worse wind.
Right. And I know here at Cozumel they have this campaign against drafting.
Yeah.
Like, I think you'd say campaign.
Doesn't every race have that?
No, actually they don't. Not as much as Cozumel. I mean, I've heard it actually like on the bathroom mirrors. It's everywhere. Don't draft.
Oh yeah, there was okay, that's funny. They did actually have a sticker that says no drafting. Wow.
Did you see a lot of drafting on the bike? I know you can't really see much from the lead. But...
Well, yeah, I did see a lot of age groupers drafting, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, and unfortunately I saw, you know, one of the females deciding to do it as well. So.
Oh, that's sad.
But I have a whole opinion on that stuff. It's so wrong.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully you weren't at Texas this year.
Oh my gosh, I would have lost my mind.
Gosh.
It's just ridiculous. It's not fair.
Right.
For the people that want to ride safely and clean.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So whenever you start getting towards miles 50, 60, and 70, how are you feeling at this point?
Well, so at around mile 56, I think, is when Angela Nath and then I can't pronounce her name, the girl Svenja, the girl that ended up winning, they passed me. And then literally like maybe 10, 15 minutes after they passed me, is when I started, the wheels like completely came off. And it's not like I was really tired. It's just my body couldn't go anymore. Like my heart rate had spiked to higher than it should be, and then I just couldn't turn my legs over. Like there's no power. Wow. And so I mean, I didn't get passed by another rider until like 100 miles. But it was an ugly last half of the bike. I mean, I think I averaged like 40 less watts average than the first half. Wow. That's pretty bad. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Do you contribute that to wind, nutrition?
No, not at all. It was nutrition. I mean, I did everything that I was supposed to do in terms of like when to take my nutrition and everything. But that's why now we're starting to make our own mix because I was lacking probably a sugar. And so my body just shut down.
When you say a sugar, what do you mean?
Which sugar? Hold on, I'll ask again. Mike, which sugar was it?
You had the right amount of calories, just the wrong type.
Yeah, I know I had the right amount of calories, but the wrong type of sugars.
The right amount of salt, just the wrong salt.
Yeah, and then the wrong salts.
Oh, so you didn't have base salt?
No, I didn't use base salt. I should have, but I ran out. I've used them in the past in hot races. It's good.
So whenever you actually start going through this mental bad spot that lasts almost half the race.
Yeah. I actually had a moment in there where I started to feel a little better. I'm like, oh, okay. It was just a bad, because I know, a lot of people tell me, you're going to be going through rough patches and just, 1 foot in front of the other. That's all you can do. And it will probably pass. But it lasted a really long time.
Right. Nearly 2.5 hours, it seems like.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, and and mentally it didn't ruin me. Like mentally I was just like, okay, well, I still got to stay on my nutrition and the race is definitely not over.
Right. So how did you get through this mental dark spot?
1 foot in front of the other and just realize that I still have a marathon to run and anything can happen.
Wow. So what are you thinking of when you get through these moments here?
Exactly that. Like there's still, I just know that I just say it's going to pass. And everyone deals with the dark spots because they're going to happen in an Ironman. Right.
I mean, most people, it doesn't happen until miles 70, 80, or 90. But with you, it seems like it happened a little bit earlier than it should have.
Yeah, probably a little bit earlier. At 56 miles.
Wow. So I know the quality of the road here is really nice, really smooth. Did you encounter... Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a really nice and smooth course.
Wow.
The roads are wide enough where you can pass. So it's a good, fast course.
Okay. So as far as the bike course goes, is there anything you'd tell someone to be aware of that hasn't done this bike course before?
Just be cautious. Like on the back side of the island, it gets really windy with some crosswinds. So just be prepared for that.
Okay. So after you hit miles 100, did you realize that Vesterby wasn't going to be on the bike course anymore or on the course at all?
I didn't know where everyone else was. I just got a few splits of where Angela and Svenja were. So I had no idea. I was very surprised that more people hadn't passed me in that last, 56 miles because it was so bad.
Right.
So yeah, Vesterby was out of the picture at that point.
Wow. So the last, say, 2 miles of the bike course, I know this is a longer bike course of nearly 113 miles versus 112.
Yeah, it was a tiny bit long.
But are you doing anything to start preparing to start running?
Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm getting in another gel, and I didn't do any caffeine on the bike except for the last 30 minutes is when I started taking caffeine. So I was ramping myself up, just going over a checklist, just make sure I have my nutrition. And then I was like, please get me off of this bike.
Right. So even though you love your bike, you are not really thrilled.
Yeah,
with the bike.
I think everyone kind of feels that way. It's like, okay, it's time to get off the bike now.
So the last 30 minutes you add caffeine. Is there a reason for that time increment?
Yeah, just, it gives me who told me? I think Meredith Kessler told me to do it. She helped me with my first Ironman and told me, gave me some hints, and it just kind of wakes the body up a little bit. And since I'm going to be doing all caffeine gels on the run, I don't want that much caffeine in my system.
So whenever you get to T2, how does T2 go for you?
T2 was fine. So it's good with Ironmans. The volunteers take your bike, so I didn't have to worry about that. And I always sit down in T2 for the Ironmans because, you got to it takes a little bit of effort to put on the compression socks.
Right.
But the volunteers are nice and they help you and they get the stuff out of your bag for you, which was really nice. So I just made sure to get the shoes on tight, compression socks, and then grab my race belt, sunglasses, and nutrition.
Wow. So whenever you get out on the run course, do you realize how far behind the leader you are, or?
No, I didn't. I mean, I assumed I was probably really far behind just because of, how poor that last part of the bike was. But I just know that anything can happen in a marathon. And just because they're leading doesn't mean they'll stay leading.
Right. So the first few miles, how do these feel for you?
My foot actually was like the arch of my foot was a little bit cramped. So I was trying to run that out. And I think your legs just feel really, really awkward and heavy at first.
Wow. Now, the aid stations on the run here, they're spaced out a little bit differently, and it
was awesome.
Yeah. So how was this for you?
I think it was every K there was an aid station, which is awesome because I needed it every K. Usually they're spaced out a little bit farther apart, but it was awesome having, water, Gatorade, Pepsi, and gels and bananas all available at all those stations.
Right. Now, whenever you think of the conditions here, what the atmosphere is like, what you're seeing, smelling, what is all this looking and feeling like for you?
Well, it was cool. Like the cool thing about the Cozumel run course is it's just lined with people, spectators. So you kind of have that energy, from the crowd the whole time. I knew it was going to be a super hot run, which the temperature had gone up to, I think, at like 80 or something. So I guess it wasn't extremely hot, probably that they've had in previous years, but it was still pretty warm. But yeah.
Wow. Did you notice that the humidity might be impacting your run performance here?
Well, honestly, I don't really know if it affected me that much. I wasn't running very fast. And so, I mean, cardiovascularly, I wasn't really taxed running. It was just mainly my body because I wasn't used to running. I haven't been really doing a lot of running before the race. So that was kind of what was hard for me.
Right. Now, as far as your strategy for the run, did you have a certain pace or heart rate you were wanting to go off of?
I didn't really know what I would have done with the run since I hadn't been running much before, but I wanted to, run around 7 to 7:15 pace. That's kind of like my natural pace I want to run at. So I figured if I would try for that, but I think I was the first 17 miles, I think I was 7:44 pace, but that's with some stops.
Wow. So it seems like you had to know to give yourself a little bit of grace because you weren't hitting your initial mindset of your goals.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to, get through the run and not lose any more places. And it was painful. My legs hurt really, really bad. And pushing through that, it shows you what you can do if you really want something. But yeah, I Ironman I'm still learning a lot with that distance. So I understand, I'm not going to have always the races that I want, but, I learned a lot in the process, with like the nutrition. So now we're going and making our own mix, and hopefully that takes care of that problem.
Right. But do you feel like in different environments, you'll need different nutrition?
Yes. So we read something where you don't need as many calories in the heat. But I didn't really change my nutrition strategy. I always usually take 100 calories per hour or per 20 minutes.
Right. Because some athletes feel like they need even more calories in the heat versus fewer calories.
Probably because they're working harder.
But I feel like they probably need more hydration and more electrolytes than actual nutrition
They're lacking.
itself.
Yeah, they're probably lacking something.
Right. The calcium, the sodium for sure.
The sodium, and probably depending like which sugars.
Right. So I know you went down there by yourself, but from a Sherpa's standpoint, if you had Sherpas at this race, do you feel like it would have been a good course for them to be at?
Yeah, I think it's just because the run is super, like it's a looped course. So there was 3 laps on the bike and then 4 on the run. So for spectators' view, it's one of the nicer venues for spectators.
Nice. So if we think of miles, say 8 through 15, how bad was your cramping and pain through these miles?
So surprisingly, my hip didn't hurt. It was more my calves, just the pounding. But yeah, I mean, I felt my calves get sore like at mile 3.
Wow.
So I was like, oh God, but it's just like things would like switch off hurting. Like it would be my hamstring, at certain miles, and switch to my calves and the other hip. So it just kind of moves all around.
Man. I feel
That's
like
Ironman.
Yeah. And I feel like age groupers feel like that, hey, pros don't experience the same things that we experience as pros, but yet it's opposite. It's the exact same thing that everybody else experiences. The only difference is the start time of the race.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, we definitely go through the same stuff. We're all human. Yeah.
Did you see any spectators that did anything funny or any other competitors that made you laugh or chuckle along the way?
Trying to think. No, I don't remember anyone. There might have been some people cheering in a Speedo. But I don't.
It seems like there is always a group of men at every race that are in silver Speedos or something.
But it's like not that weird because we're all racing in swimsuits too.
Yeah.
But I know like at Wildflower, they had like naked people.
What?
Cheering. Yeah, Wildflower. On the run course, it's like notorious for like this one area of having a bunch of naked people cheering with signs.
Interesting.
I want to do that race.
Are you going to do it next year?
I don't know. Maybe. I did it one year, but I double flatted. So I was out on the bike. Wow. But that course would suit me because it's really hilly.
Yeah. So as far as the run goes, do you have anything that you would tell someone to be aware of that hasn't done this run course before?
Yeah, just so like the surface of the ground is kind of almost like cobblestones for a lot of it. So I would almost wear a shoe that has a little bit more, cushion.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you need to focus on ankle flexibility and stability?
Well, probably always you should be doing that.
Well, in theory, I guess.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Wow.
Maybe loosen up the calves before. I mean, it's just the pounding. But
right.
That surface is really hard, so.
So I know you're using a Polar here. What kind of data screens are you looking at on there?
Usually I do my current pace and then heart rate.
Okay. So you're going off of a certain heart rate that you want to stay below?
On the bike, for the Ironman, I wanted to keep it, below 170, but unfortunately certain parts it went higher. And then the heat always does that to me. I always have a much higher heart rate in the heat. But for the run, it's I just basically go by feel. I can't let the heart rate always dictate everything. So I don't think my heart rate was very high for this marathon.
So you're also using like an RPE scale then of how hard you're pushing.
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as the run goes, how hard was this run course for you?
It was a completely flat course. But it was just hard because, my body wasn't used to running. I mean, I was doing the Ultra G, but I was only running at like 60 to 70% of my actual body weight. And I have a tendency to get really sore calves if I don't run. And that's exactly what happened. Wow. Like my mechanics were, fine, but you're not really like having a very big or not much of a stride length when you're running a 744 mile.
Right, because you're not going.
I was more shuffling. Fast. Yeah, I was more shuffling than anything. But it's just a really fun, I would say, run course because of all the spectators. And you get to run next to the ocean.
So is that beautiful to actually see the ocean?
Yes. I love the water and ocean. So anytime I get to see that, it makes me happy.
And it's actually blue ocean here versus like this nasty green.
Yeah. Well, it kind of had it was a little bit cloudy because of all the wind and rain from the past week.
Well, that's not too bad though.
Yeah, no, but it was still beautiful and tropical.
Man. So the last 3 or 4 miles of the run course, you're past mile 20, but you still have at least 30, 40 minutes left out on the run course. And you've already hit the 3-hour mark on your run watch. How are you holding up?
Well, I didn't really look at my watch pretty much the entire run. I may have checked it like once or twice. But the last 4 miles were horrible. I was like, oh my God, please just get me to the finish. I'm like, my body does not love me right now. And so Michelle Vesterby had been out of the race, but she was actually on the run course cheering all of us out. Or all of us on. And so she actually ran beside me for just like a little bit cheering, which actually really helped. Really? Yeah.
Because I think really I saw a picture of her running next to you.
Yeah. Yep. She was just being very encouraging, and that's cool when, your competitors, even though she had like a terrible day, she was able to go out and support.
Yeah. I mean, I like her campaign of just keep smiling. It's pretty
it's good to have a good outlook on life and to be positive.
Man, I think she's going to be a great mom.
Yeah, I think I knew she was going to have a boy too.
What?
I'm psychic. I know these things. I can tell just by looking at someone if they're going to have a boy or a girl.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, don't look at my wife anytime soon. You can't do that.
I have a gift.
Man, so after you get done with the last loop here and you're making your way towards the finish line, how are you feeling emotionally about your performance?
It wasn't, I was bummed only because, I didn't win, and then I was off the podium, but I was happy with myself that I pushed through and finished. Like coming from feeling like such crap to, finishing that, it's hard to feel, it's hard to keep going when your race starts sucking early on. Right. And like being able to push through when, you're feeling like poop and you're not in contention to win. And that's hard to do.
Because it's a mental battle for even longer.
It's more mental. Yeah. And you have to fight with yourself mentally the whole time.
Right. So the last 800 yards here, you take that left and then you can see the finish line of your second full distance try coming into a conclusion. What was this like for you?
I stopped. I don't even know if I really enjoyed the red cup. I just wanted to get over the line so I could be done running. But it's not like I was, I've had some 70.3s that haven't gone my way, and I'm like pissed, super pissed right after I finished. But I was happy I was done, and I was just, you get filled with emotion because you've just put yourself through like 9 hours and 40 something minutes of racing. Like, yeah, I finished. I'm happy. It's for anyone, it's a hard thing to do. And it's a long, long time to race.
It is. I mean, and there's
for everyone.
It's a long distance to cover.
Yeah.
So after you cross the finish line, what'd you do next?
I had help getting over to the massage area, and I got a massage because they have free massages after the race.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, and so they helped me out a little bit, but I was so sore. Like going back to our Airbnb afterwards was terrible because I had to hike up 3 flights of stairs, which sucked.
With your bike.
Yes.
And your bags.
Well, the next day I had to even take Laurel's bike down because she got sick.
Oh, wow.
So I was super nice, good friend. I'm a good friend, and I took both of our bike boxes down.
Oh, my gosh.
She owes me.
Man. So how was your recovery process looking back on it? I know it's been a few weeks since the race.
Really good, actually. I've recovered a lot quicker than I did from my first Ironman. My first Ironman, I mean, I was so sore and I was out for. I finished and I immediately was like, I really like this distance. I could do another one. Whereas my first Ironman, I was like, oh, never again. That was the most painfulest thing I've ever done. But I actually was out, training for 3 or 4 days afterwards. But nothing hard, of course, but just, my body stopped being sore maybe 5 days after.
That's awesome.
That's good for me.
So what do you attribute that to? Just movement, fitness, recovery process?
Probably my fitness, and, I'm staying up to, I'm still using the Normatec, stretching, making sure I'm eating properly.
So what you're saying is you didn't eat a pizza right afterwards?
Oh, I probably ate pizza afterwards. I eat pizza a couple times a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's probably why you're so good.
Because I eat pizza.
Yes.
I do pizza and burger. That's like my staple, pizza and burgers.
That is awesome.
It's bison, though. It's bison meat. It's lean meat. It's healthy.
Yes. Pizza and burgers. Yep. I love it.
Yep.
So to kind of wrap things up here with a few end questions here, what's something that you learned from this race that you'd like to pass on to someone who hasn't done this race before?
Make sure you have make sure you know your nutrition, and that's huge. And then be aware of the wind. And then also be prepared for jellyfish stings. Put Vaseline all over your body because that can affect someone. Those stings. So one pro pulled out because of them.
How can you prepare for jellyfish stings?
Vaseline. And also they have at dive shops, they have this jellyfish sting stuff where it like scares the jellyfish off, but I couldn't find any. But I know they have it.
Really?
Yeah. I looked. I went to like 5 dive shops. That's how paranoid I was.
Wow. So looking back on it, how well prepared for this race do you feel like you were?
I feel like I was pretty much prepared as I could be. I mean, I always practice, my what I'm going to do in a race. I do it in my training. So it's like, but, I'm never racing 5 hours, indoors or outside. So you never know really what your body's going to do. But I like to take the guesswork out of it. And I prepared for the heat with training in my hot box. So I feel like I did a good job preparing for it.
Awesome. So if you could change one thing about your race before you raced, what would you change and why would you change it?
I would change my nutrition. I wish I would have had my mix that we made beforehand. And maybe not injure my hip before the race. But other than that, I mean, I feel like I did what I was supposed to do.
Right. Do you think Ironman could have made your experience any better?
No, I think they did a pretty good job. Maybe just call out. I wish they would call out more of the drafting, especially for the people that are doing this. You know, there's money on the line.
Right, because that's like stealing money from someone else.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Right. So for first timers that are going to do this race next year, what advice would you give them?
Just be prepared for the heat. You know, try and put yourself into similar situations. Like if you can, with like training next to a heater, like you can train in your bathroom and then put a heater in the bathroom, and that way you have your humidity.
Right.
And then practice riding in the wind.
I think the wind would help a lot.
Yeah, the wind is probably a big one, especially for people who don't have, great handling skills. Like a lot of triathletes don't.
Are you trying to call out triathletes?
No,
you're a
actually,
cyclist?
I'm not. It's just true. You were forced to learn how to handle your bike racing. In triathlon, you're not.
You don't know how to take a corner the right way.
Yeah, you might not because you don't practice it. Or, just basic stuff.
Wow. So as far as logistically complicated, how hard was this race for you logistically?
Not hard. I had 2 flights. One, I think I flew into Dallas actually.
Nice.
And then, flew in Texas and then straight to Cozumel. A lot of people have issues with flying directly into Cozumel because it's really expensive, but a lot of people will fly into Cancun and then take a ferry over.
Right.
But you can do both. I found a pretty decent ticket for Cozumel, and then just know that the race start is farther away than everything, so you're gonna have to take a taxi or a bus.
Right.
But everything's pretty close by. And there's good food, good restaurants, lots of Airbnbs, and the host hotel is nice. I stayed there last year.
Nice. So we covered quite a bit about your race. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think I'm good. I think we covered a lot.
Nice. So what's next for you?
So I was gonna race the challenge race on December 9th, but I couldn't get in, and then it's probably a good idea with my hip. My hip's finally getting better with a lot of rehab. But I'll probably race in Oceanside is usually the first one, unless there's something earlier that I'll do.
Nice.
But my main goal next year is to qualify for Kona. So
really?
I'll be doing a lot of Ironmans.
So are you going to come to Texas?
Well, not if there's all that drafting.
Well, I hope there's not. I volunteered there this year, and it was interesting.
Did you say you did it?
I volunteered there this year.
Oh, on the run? I
was in transition.
Ah. So why was it so interesting?
We'll talk afterwards.
Okay. This is not for podcast.
Yes, it is not. So
this could be another podcast.
Yes, it could. All right. So what races are on your bucket list? You've been in the sport for a while now.
I want to do Challenge Roth.
Really?
One of these days. There's something about like that electric hill or whatever it is, the one, or solar hill. That is what it is. It's like super steep and it's like loud, like lined up with people like in your face, like Tour de France style.
So when are you going to do that?
I don't know. Maybe next year, maybe this year. I don't know. Kind of depends how good I am at that time. And then, yeah, I guess it just depends on my ability. Wow. If I can compete. I'm not going to go someplace where I don't think that I have a shot of making money because I do this for a living. So I got to be smart.
Right. So how can athletes follow you?
My website is actually under construction at the moment, but it will be back up, or on Instagram.
Okay. And your Instagram is at Kelsey _Withrow?
Yeah, that's it. Or they can follow our new coaching Instagram handle, and that's Core Motion Athletics.
Awesome. And that's core _motion _athletics.
Yeah.
Great. So, Kelsey, it's been great spending some time with you today. I've enjoyed it. And I only have one more question for you.
Yeah.
And that's, what's your definition of a perfect race?
Well, I don't really know if there is such a thing as a perfect race, but I can come close to perfect, and that's nailing everything that you've wanted or that you plan to, like your race nutrition, your race strategy, and then, of course, winning.
Wow.
But it's very unlikely that you're ever going to have a perfect race.
Because
there's always
everything has to come together.
Yeah. And that doesn't, even with the wins that I've had, they hadn't been perfect.
Wow. Well, Kelsey, it's been great. I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to following you in the future.
Thank you, Terry. It was great having me on this show.
Awesome. So good luck getting your slot for Kona next year. I hope you get it.
Thank you.
I know you already got your slot for Nice too, right?
Yes, I got that in China this year.
Are you going to go?
Possibly.
Wow. Well,
maybe.
Good luck if you go over there, okay?
Thank you very much, Terry.
You're welcome. Have a good day, okay?
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.